What up? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. You know what? You've been here before. We talk about everything crowdfunding, and one of my favorite parts of doing this show is just being able to speak with incredibly creative people. You know, not only do they have the business brains to be able to have a six-figure raise, right, or more, seven-figure raise, but they also just bring such cool stuff into this world. And that's literally no exception with today's guest. I brought on the creator of Space Kraken, a science fiction dungeon crawler like you've never played before. It looks beautiful, really cool. Just looking at this thing is getting me excited to play this game. But I kind of want to get into some of the advice and strategy and marketing and that kind of stuff that we get into as usual when it comes to the podcast interview. However, I also kind of want to just draw your attention or draw your awareness to the fact that there are so many different categories on Kickstarter. You know, if you go back into the archives of my show, you'll see me doing interviews with people like tabletop games, publishing projects, physical products, gadgets, gizmos, music products, albums, right? Theater projects, etc. I've done it all. So there are so many different categories on Kickstarter. And one of the best things that you can do going into a new launch is to identify kind of where you sit or where your niche is or where your category is. Because that's going to really help when it comes to downloading information in your head and kind of getting tailored advice and feedback for you. If you ever hire someone like me, like a coach, or you ever hire an agency to help you out, or you ever hire a service provider, it's going to help you so much if you know a little bit of just what you're doing there. So obviously I do coaching and I do these kinds of things, and I'll include some information at the end of the show if you want to learn more about that. But the other thing that I love to do is just provide high quality information and education. And the reason is that literally no one ever held my hand when it came to doing things that I wanted to accomplish in life. And I'm like, this is one of the things that is such a strong principle for me that back in 2012, 8 years ago, I decided to put out my first blog post. And that's really the genesis of everything that is CrowdCrux today. So that's kind of where my story started, is just wanting to help people and wanting to share valuable education and resources. But I think the other thing is just being willing to surround yourself with other voices. Like, just because you're doing a gadget or physical product doesn't mean you shouldn't also listen to a podcast that's about a tabletop game, or about strategies that are working right now in the gaming category, or about in the album or the music category, right? When you have these different reference experiences, it lets you come up with lots of creative ideas you can actually apply to your crowdfunding campaign. And in that way, you can kind of, if you're competing with other people, you kind of stand head and shoulders above other people that are out there, because they just haven't been exposed to all these other tactics and techniques which you are now being exposed to. So it's really freaking exciting. But not to belabor the point, if you want to just kind of breeze through this, you're not interested, like, Sal, I don't want to listen to all these podcasts, just go and download the Audible version of my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula. That's literally a formula that will tuck you A to Z when it comes to the entire blueprint of launching a Kickstarter campaign. You can go to the link crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That's crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. If you want to learn more about that audiobook that I have for you there, and you can download that and start listening to that right away. But without further ado, let's get into today's interview and kind of learn the reason why this campaign took off, was able to attract more than 2,000 backers, and ended up resulting in a six-figure raise. It's coming up. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we have a six-figure creator on the show for Space Kraken, a science fiction dungeon crawler like you've never played before. This is by Marcus. He's attracted more than 2,000 backers for his project, and he has come on the show today to share some of the advice with you, as well as a little bit about his product. Marcus, welcome to the show.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Definitely, man. Could you tell the listeners a tiny bit about your game, your tabletop, and just kind of explain that for them a little bit?
Yeah, I love playing games, every kind of games, from video games, from board games, tabletop games, role-playing games. There was a lot of games a long time ago with science fiction themes where you're exploring the space and so on, like Captive, later on UFO, XCOM, you maybe know. But I don't have some board games like that, and never found games like that. So I come up with the idea, okay, let's give it a try and develop a game with that role-playing and video game experience together as some strategic adventure space game. And so I created Space Kraken.
That's awesome. And where are you hailing in from? Which part of the world did you create this from?
I'm in Germany, close near Munich. I'm working with people all over the world together. For example, the artist is from Russia, So it's like a little bit like a worldwide project. I have Native American speakers and proofreaders. My company is based in Germany. Yeah.
Very cool. And what would you say kind of stands out about this project? Why do you think that it really caught on so much from people around the world backing it?
I think three big points. First, growing the community after science 3 years or so, and getting bigger and bigger. It's not like my first project, so the people already know what I deliver and they can check my previous projects. The community have to grow first. And the second thing is the genre is quite popular. Science fiction is just for everybody. Everybody reading books, like movies, playing video games in the genre, love that game too. The same with role-playing fans, with strategy game fans. So very, a lot of people are attracted. And the third thing, because the artwork fitting together, because I have had the luck to find a very good artist who make all the illustrations for my story and for the entire game. Because if I only have the story and cannot deliver the first quick impression with the artworks, I guess not so many people will get attracted that fast. Yeah.
When did you launch your very first campaign, your very first Kickstarter?
About 3 years ago, it was the first big campaign on Kickstarter. I did some terraforming Mars custom tiles set with some 3D printed tiles in some higher quality resin-made prints, and this was the first project of that kind. And I make no advertising at all, and I just started it because people asked me to do, and then I already have a very big impact, and so I get started doing one Kickstarter project after another. But I have had projects before, but not on Kickstarter. I have had games I've written as game designer for publishers on the market, but the science 3 years I doing it on my own label, so I'm free to do whatever I like. Yeah.
And with those other campaigns, how many have you done up until this point in time?
I guess it's number 7. I did some Terraforming Mars custom. It was not all big projects. There was the Terraforming Mars custom tile set. It was after the after sales and everything over 50,000 euros, so a little bit less than the half of the amount now, or 1/3. Then there was another big project, Type 7. That was the last one, some submarine solitaire war game, and the same size around. And I have made some games in the box, just a little wood make box, laser cut it with some little games inside. An entire series with 3 games, and they work out very well. But just little things. I not make advertisement or so. I just like to make some games, sit there for a week or so, and have the final product and just kickstart it. But I can say 3 big projects. Yeah.
For you, is it the fact you can play these games? Is it that you enjoy seeing other people play them and have a good time? What kind of makes you want to keep doing these projects? Because that's a lot, to do 7 of them.
Yeah, generally I would say it's the love of making games like that. I make games since I'm a little boy, since I was 6 years old or so. I creating games first, just very, very simple games, and every game I get, if it was Monopoly or chess or whatever, I modified and try to make better and make some entire new game, little bit based on some other games, and everything just thinking around what I get, or I watch some cinema movie and then I make some game, and this just have to come out. The same with programming. I like programming too, and I also programmed for Space Kraken as well, the engine to make the scripted story. And if I don't program for a half year or a year, I have to program again because I just love doing that thing. So the creation process, this is what I love most. Yeah.
What do you think you've learned about sharing your creations with the Kickstarter community? Is there anything you've taken away from doing these different projects that you think is really valuable, that you've been trying to apply with this recent one?
There are many things. First, the most important thing is, and I'm luckily don't have any bigger troubles with Kickstarter since I'm doing it. It's the most important thing is that you take care about the people and listening to them. And you can do that if you are a small company like giving feedback. For example, for Space Kraken, I make some standard pledge, I make some like deluxe variation and some epic edition. But people coming and say, no, they don't like the art book, but they want everything essential for the game, such like a essential edition. And I was very sad at the beginning because I don't plan to realize such a pledge. But even these angry people, I directly start talking with them, and I was very surprised that the game creator start talking with them and take care of what they like, and I ask them and they discuss with each other what editions they like, and then we set up two different kinds of some essential editions, and they get it, and everything works fine. And if they realize you take care about what they think and answering their questions and everything like that, and especially if you do it as creator, not just some guy you place there and you cannot say much important things or cannot change anything. And if they realize they speak with the creator, then they have some influence to the game as well, and you get some inspiration as well. And this is something, helping to grow the entire community and the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also gives that feel of being a part of the project, right? And being a part of the
Yeah,
community.
exactly.
For your like expertise, like you mentioned working with other people, would you say that you're the designer of like the gameplay? Do you really like to have a hand in the artwork? Like where's your expertise kind of with the game process?
I'm not the artist. I did but close everything else, from the story writing, from the game mechanics, the organizing of everything. And especially as one tip, if you start to create something, if it's a game or whatever, you need to know the topics. Even if you outsource them and find some freelancer who can do that, you have to know how it works so you can take care about that everything fitting together and so on. So for example, we going to create a application for handy mobile, so you can use to support the game during you play. And if you haven't any idea about programming, it's a very big risk to just give it to some freelancer wherever in India or in USA or in wherever in the world. And if you don't can read the code and have no idea how the app should work, you just have to believe blind and don't know what you get. And so I guess it was quite important for me to learning doing all that stuff from Photoshop, from InDesign to programming on my own. Because earlier times I have no freelancers, so I have to do everything on my own. But now it's advantage, I would say, because I can tell the artist exactly what I need. I can the layouter what I think how it should be, and so it's fitting everything just fitting better together.
Yeah, so you're almost like you have the vision, right? You're managing the project and also editing a little bit and telling people what you want. So you're kind of coordinating all these people working together a little bit.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Now, when it comes to like, you've obviously built up a bit of an audience from doing these different projects. At the same time, like, do you do any kind of marketing related to the project? Are you sharing this on social media? Are there any things you're doing to kind of push the project?
Yes, of course. Only at the beginning, I thought can only create an amazing game and then it will work automatically without doing any advertisement. This was what I believe many years ago. But I understand that it's the same important or close the same important as the game itself, that you promote it well, that you have you have the emotion for the game and love the game, but the others cannot see and don't get in touch with it if you don't share it. That's why I delivered over 200 prototype examples from Space Kraken in this case, all over the world, to YouTubers, to podcasters, everywhere. And they all start talking about it. I have some Facebook group, some Discord channel. And about 2 or 3 months before, I start talking like crazy about this project. And this time it worked best, even better than with Type 7. Type 7, I did the same, but it was some submarine game. Awesome as well. People already told me, I really love the design and the submarine and so on. But the theme, submarine war games, is not so popular and not so everybody is interested like now in the science fiction genre. And this is, I guess, the main case why we get 3 times bigger this time with the Space Kraken project. Yeah.
So you're kind of talking about it beforehand. Did you do anything to form those relationships with influencers or with these people you're talking about, like podcasters and YouTubers? Did you just reach out to them, or like how did you form that relationship?
I start reaching out to them with at the beginning there was just a few. Every time I start to find new one, and now especially after Space Kraken, the YouTuber and everybody even comes to me and ask me if they can get some prototype, even if I never get in touch with them, because they see the project and because it's very popular. They come to me and start talking, but it was growing time after time, and now I guess I can send next version. I don't know if I send 300 prototypes away. I have enough connections now all over the world, so it's just growing every time. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. One of the other things I noticed with your campaigns, you're doing like that kind of that hype a little bit, right, leading up to the launch. It looks like you also have some different stretch goals on here, right? What is your thought process behind stretch goals, and like how does that motivate people, and do you find that to be effective?
Yes, of course it's effective. I'm a Kickstarter baker as well. I baked, I don't know, 140 different projects, and it's every time some, yeah, like you're playing lottery. You see some awesome game project, and you see how much they maybe unlock if during the runtime. You don't know before how much you can reach, and people really going outside and asking friends and try to get more community to increase the value, especially in Space Kraken as example. There was the bigger thing, I guess, was the application, the supporting app. So you can use your iPad to help playing and just store your values of the heroes and everything like that. And the people was very crazy and asked me every time, yeah, we have to reach and we have to ask more people and we need to get it. Yeah, it's really supporting the thing. Yeah.
I think it's a reason for people to come back to the page, right? It's something where they feel like they're part of something where if they're backing the project and the funding meter is going up, they're getting nearer and nearer towards that funding amount for the stretch goal, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of rally the community a tiny bit in that way.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed with your project is, man, you have a lot of items with your rewards here. Like you got notebooks and art books and token sets, all that kind of stuff. Do you have any thoughts on the fulfillment side with rewards? Is there any tools you use for that?
I have no serious issues that I cannot make it because the core game already have the entire game works. The prototype is, I don't know, the game mechanics is about 90%. The most thing that I write is more story, the entire universe around. That's why I also created more books, because there are so much more, and I don't want to pack everything just inside the book, because the book is already something you can play, I don't know, about 100 hours, because you can, if you play one time through the entire campaign, you need about 10 hours. And you have different storylines. So you can play a second time and you have a complete different storyline. And this you can make multiple times. And even if you finished all of these storylines, you can mix them because they have some sub storylines internally. So you can make some different combinations. So you can play it over and over again until you solved it. And then if it's still, if you think, okay, now you've played all, then you have the extra books. You have.
If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured, I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you, and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfillrite, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillrite.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist. fulfillrite.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately.
Because for example, this was some community thing. The extra book with the worlds, also with new planets and locations you can find, people coming up and say, hey, we want to have not only the generated worlds, we want to have a book with some planets, with some description, with some image you can see, and some entire star map. And this brings up some idea for a whole new book as additional. And we already include the CGM, the storytelling system, in this book as well. So you can find some new stories in those planets as well, and even can set up a base and manage your base on some system. And yeah, this is what brings more and more ideas up. And I have to, I just do everything to fill the universe. And this is now the full set which I created for the game. Yeah.
At what point do you think people make the decision to back the project? Like, is it after they watch the video? Is it after they see the gameplay or they learn about the story? What do you think people need to experience before they really decide to become a backer of a project?
I don't make some survey, but I guess it's very quick. It's like usual. You just take, I don't know, a second or 2 seconds to just scroll all over, and then you have, okay, it's potential interesting or not. And then, in my case, I do it like that. Then I give the video a try and start the video, and then for 80%, my decision is already made if I want to go in and bake it or not. And then but then I already know it. But then I start reading what different pledge they have and so on. But I guess it's very a quick decision. Maybe the first 10 seconds are already deciding.
Yeah, that's pretty speedy for sure. So you're getting like the whole vibe kind of, and then you're making the decision from there.
Yeah.
The other thing would probably be like, I assume if people have played your genre of game or they're familiar with your type of gameplay, like that would be another one I would think would be big. It kind of does come in genres, and like even like with movies, right? You're watching certain genres of movies. So if you know you like sci-fi and these types of games, you're going to be more likely to be interested in it.
Yeah, I guess it's they get some impression that something they love is some component of the game, or they see what I love, and then they know that if I make this game, then now I make it that way that they love it as well. It's the same if you have some friend and you have the same humor, you have the same interests, and if he say, okay, I find a new movie, and he don't have to tell you what the movie is about. If he love it, you can be close sure that you have the same taste of movies, and this is the same with the science fiction genre. And if I'm talking about the games I love most, and if other hearing this and they think that's exactly the same, and remember that how they set up their XCOM squad and sharing the soldiers between their friends, so each friend command one soldier, because that's only what it was a solo player game at the time. And if they have the same feeling and impressions, then they know that they will love the game what I make, because I make it especially because I love that game. Yeah.
What element do you think your like personality and you as a creator plays in this? Because like you have a really well designed game and it looks beautiful, right? But there's also this element of like passion that I can tell you have, right? And even just looking through some of the comments here, like you're replying to all of these comments and it's super in depth. Like it's pretty clear you're a passionate guy, you know? What element do you think that plays in people trusting you or wanting to become a part of it?
Yeah, there is it's like some fire. If you are on fire, you catch the people. I have people, they just listen to me and bake the project, and then they come to me and say, oh, let me set up a Discord server for you for free so we can share the community. Other translating entire text or stories from me just for free because they love it and they want to have it in their own language. So they ask me, hey, can I translate it to Polish or to English or whatever, because they want to have it. And it's in reverse. I just can hardly understand if some project creators are not in love with the project. There are people making good games, but they're talking like some very seriously, like you're going to a bank and want to have the credit, and they can explain what is good and so on, but they have no. I don't know if I make something I have passion for it. Yeah, if I as game designer have to make a game for a publisher and they say I want to have a game that I don't like, I don't know, about coffee farm in Africa or something, and I not get I just don't like, but I must make it, then I maybe don't have the passion as well. But as long as I decide what games I like to make, I choose the games I like most and love most, and then the passion is just it's normal, and it's going to the other people as well if they see it, and it's more the thing that they read between the line. I have updates for each Kickstarter project, and every time I reach the end of a campaign, people coming and tell me, yeah, that's exactly what Kickstarter is made for, the people who are really in love with the project, and it's just spreading, and they just can read it between the lines. And this is happening in every project I made since the beginning. And so I'm quite happy, especially at the moment. I feel that the people now and understand why I made these games. Yeah.
The other question I had for you was on the language front. Have you found the language barrier to be something that is a factor, or it seems like that hasn't been as much a case for you? Did you think that was the case maybe in the beginning or anything like that?
Yeah, I guess it was just it's important to do it in English and German, because I have a German community and the English community, and game developing in two different languages is a problem if you develop in the same time parallelly. So I decided to go for English at the beginning. So I have prototypes and everything only in English, and if the game is completely developed and everything is finished, then we go for the translations. And yeah, it is important. Even English is not enough. People already ask me for a Russian version, Polish version. The French people already get a version because they built up community already before we start the project on Facebook, and said, yeah, we want to absolutely have to need a version in French. And so I said, okay, we need some specified number of people, and they reached in about 2 days or so. And so I have to go for it. Yeah, it costs a lot of work, but yeah, the community is spreading. And soon I have so many fans in each country that I can support French right at the beginning for the next project, for example. So it's just important if you want to grow that you cover the most important language. And Spanish is maybe interesting as well as next year.
When it comes to the entire process that is Kickstarter, is there anything else you'd like to pass on to the community in the way of, advice about how to structure rewards or advice on getting people to the campaign on the first couple of days? Is there anything you'd like to impart more when it comes to that?
Yeah, the most important, there are many important things. One is maybe that you need to build up some community before it go live. The Type 7, I have had about 320 people waiting on Kickstarter, subscribe to project there. And with that project, I have about, what was it, 2,600 or so. So quite a lot of people already waiting. And that gives us the push right at the start with about 30,000 euro in day one. And it's important if you give it a good push right at the beginning. Like if you start a rocket, you need the initial the start speed to lift the Earth's gravity, and if you don't make it, it just gets sucked back. So, and it's a snowball effect as well. If you get bigger, in this case with Space Kraken, we get already before the 3 important days before the end of the campaign, we already passed the 100,000 euro mark, and that's quite important because if you see such a big project with so big community and so many backers, it just catch more people. If you see a 2,000 euro project and they don't even reach their target, you think about twice or 3 times about if you go in, because you think, they maybe don't make the target, or maybe even if they make it, you don't have some important, interesting stretch goals. So the bigger it gets, the better it runs. So you have to push it as good as you can. Yeah.
It's almost like you're skiing downhill, because if you haven't got any funding yet, it's hard to convince people to check it out. It's harder to motivate your team. And then when you get a little bit of funding, it's like other people are more likely than check it out and watch the video or take at least a few seconds to scroll down the page. So it does become easier, right? And I think you also had a pretty big upward surge as you went towards the end of your campaign, right?
Yeah. Oh, and maybe one important thing is, one big advantage of how I get started with making games was the fact that I don't need to produce 1,000 pieces or so of a game, because I manufacture everything myself. I have a 3D printer farm where I make the first terraforming Mars set. With the income, I bought some CNC laser where I make some overlays and game stuff, and the entire box game series and the Type 7 submarine. Everything is laser cutted in my own factory. And the color print, I bought some youve color printer, 60 centimeter times 90 centimeters, a big printing machine, and I make all the color submarines as well in my company. So I don't have to take care to reach a high budget with about now 50 or 60,000 euro, and I can realize it only with just something lower. I have not so a difficult start, and now it's growing up and can produce quantities that can just be bought in some factory, and I don't have to. It's now more game designing and game creation and prototype making, and not any more production of the final game. But it gives me a good start. Yeah.
Makes sense. Where would you say you're trying to lead this? Because your community has been growing a lot more, I feel, and now you're getting sub communities, right, within different countries. Like, where do you see this going? Are you trying to create a larger game development studio? Where do you see yourself taking this in the next couple of years here?
There's many different games I want to make and I'm in love with, and I have prototypes. I don't know, maybe 10 are already playable, full playable. Just have to get some new artwork so I can show it to the public. But I have so many games I want to realize, but I have to take care what the people like most, of course. And in this case, and this is one thing I really like to do, is the CGM engine. This is the first game that I realized with the Space Kraken, and this is the storytelling and the artificial intelligence script that working behind the game and just telling the story and everything. And you can use that for a fantasy game as well, for a end time like Fallout epic game like that, and for quite different games. And people are already asking me for that kind of genres. And so I guess next year I start to give that genres a try. And after that, I guess the CGM line, if this game working as it looks like, I have to push a CGM game out, I don't know, every year or every 2 years. But I want, if possible, somehow to even make more games every year so I can realize the other ideas as well. Because they are so, just unique things, games that I don't find on the market and I really want to play. So I created these games. And I guess, I have a lot of in stock that I have to develop and try to public soon.
Yeah, I love it, man. You're doing your passion. You're putting out things that you love doing, and it's great. Where can people go to learn more about your project and also some of the new stuff you have coming out?
The most simple thing is just going to the webpage, 3D Art Lab, like 3D and art and lab, like laboratory. DE, the German address.
Okay, 3dartlab.de.
Exactly. Maybe you can link it if you have some info at your podcast also. You can just link it.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been a lot of great advice and tips. And I think what you're doing is super cool. The fact that you're, living your dream and you're doing your passion and you're getting, funding for it, like that's so cool. And it's obviously growing because you're getting all these niche communities involved and stuff. So I can't wait to see some of the new stuff that you're coming out with this upcoming year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified Podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for joining me here today on the podcast. Hope you got a lot of good value and advice out of the show. And if you're kind of hungry for like a little bit more, you're like, I'm not fully satisfied, I want to learn more, Sal. Like, do you have more wisdom and ways to demystify this process for me? My answer to you, sir, is yes, I do. So the first thing that I want to direct your attention to is this free Kickstarter course that I put together for you. Basically, some of my high quality training videos that I'd love to share with you that will help just get you, not talking about any of the BS or any of the just long-winded stuff, just really get straight to the point, telling you what you gotta do when it comes to launching a Kickstarter campaign. If you want to check that link out to enroll in this free course, all you gotta do is go to link crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter, crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. That will take you to the link and you can enroll in this free course when it comes to getting up and ready with how to even run, one of these campaigns. So that's the first resource. The other is if you go to my website, CrowdCrux, I have a lot of great articles and content there for you. If you're interested, you can learn more about some of my membership communities, my tribe there. You can learn more about me, etc. And also there are some links there if you want to get in touch directly. I think that's probably the easiest way if you want to, but be warned, I do have a lot of inflow nowadays. From when I got started in the early days, no one was listening to me, right? Now I have a lot of people who are always seeking my attention. So try to, if you can, stand out in some way. Be prepared. The best time I think to reach out to a coach or to reach out to someone and help you is when you've already done a little bit of your own research and you kind of know just a tiny bit about crowdfunding. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to educate and get you up to speed. So if you're more in that beginning phase, free course is amazing, I think. Got some great offers there for you as well. And you can also just listen to some more of the episodes that I'm putting out here regularly. Or if you're ready to go, you can always go to my site and you can learn more about some of those options. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate you so much. And I will see you next time.